Hi, my name is Tyler Fornes, and I am the co-host of The Good, the Bad, and the Hunky here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Every week, my co-host Fred Moreland and I discuss all the happenings of All Elite Wrestling and everything going on in the universe of Tony Khan. We talk about Dynamite, we talk about Rampage, and we will talk about Collision when the time comes as well, along with all the appearances outside of AEW from all the best talents in All Elite Wrestling. This is one of the more cohesive wrestling companies in the entire world, and we discuss every intricacy about it, including the unique booking of Tony Khan that is both a huge positive and a major detriment. Check us out every single Thursday here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
Hello there, my name's Neil David and I'm the host of Eurograps Express, the podcast exclusively dedicated to the wrestling of Europe. If it's wrestling and it happens in Europe and it's good, we talk about it. Whether it's RevPro, Progress, WXW, Passion Pro, Pro Wrestling Chaos, Pro Wrestling North, we don't care, we talk about them all. If it's good and it's exciting, I want to share it with you. We're on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Check us out on the feed. Check us out on Twitter at EuroGrapsEXP. And join us for chat about European wrestling and a little bit of chat about cheese. Hopefully see you there.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome to Jumping Bomb Audio.
And welcome back to Jumping Bomb Audio, the number one show all about the world of Joshi Pro Wrestling. My name is Taylor, and I am joined, as always, back in the saddle again with Kelly.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going? We didn't record 2 weeks ago. We had some scheduling issues. We were planning on recording. We had things that we were going to talk about, but unfortunately, life sometimes gets in the way, but we're happy to be back again with all of you. And Kelly, I'm happy to be back with you.
Oh, me too. I need to share with you a game changer I discovered, and it's not Game Changer Wrestling.
Okay.
So when we would have recorded last episode, I was in Chicago for All Out. I had to remember which All show it was. And we did the sweet thing, and all right, so now the game changer I discovered. Halfway through a wrestling show, get yourself a cup of coffee and a plate of desserts.
All right.
That'll carry you through the rest of the show. It's fantastic. Cannot recommend it enough.
I would imagine there aren't many places where you could do that. I mean, I guess you could do that in your house.
Yeah.
If you wanted, but unless you've got a suite, gonna be hard to find a I don't know, do they sell coffee at most?
They don't,
arenas?
but you know what? They should.
I mean, I think they should anyway. I think people would buy. I am not a coffee drinker myself, but I know people now drink coffee at like all times of the day.
Yeah.
I always think of it as like a morning, like, oh, I got to get my energy up, got to, pep up. But now people, they got iced coffee and all these different things. So people are going all the time.
Yeah,
So,
no, I'm always drinking coffee. Like coffee for me, like I probably do need the little boost to wake up, but for me it's more just about the morning ritual, just pouring the cup, sitting reading a little something before I go to work. And then like if I do need the little extra later in the day, time to pour another cup.
Now, what's your coffee of choice? We are not sponsored currently by any coffee makers, but we could be.
I like a lot of the Barris Brothers blends. They do good stuff. I'm typically just like bagged. You know who has who had good coffee. I don't know if they still sell it on their website anymore. Steve Carino sold a damn good bag of coffee.
Interesting.
I
never knew that.
Yeah, it came autographed too by the king of old school, Steve Carino. That was very cool, and it was delicious coffee. It kind of reminded me of McDonald's coffee, which is very underrated. I think McDonald's has really good coffee.
Now, was it Steve Carino branded coffee, or is it coffee being sold on Steve Carino's website that he would just
Steve
then
Carino
autograph?
branded coffee.
Oh, wow. Well, can't do that when you're working in the big company, I guess.
I think I
want
to say it was when he was signed. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know if he still does.
Does he still have a website?
We're gonna find out.
Let's look it up. Steve Carino.
Squared Circle Cafe. There it is.
Wait, how'd you find it so fast?
I just searched Steve Carino coffee, and it was the first thing that popped up. Oh man, you can get Mr. Wrestling 3 espresso.
Steve Carino Squared Circle Cafe. Home is being inside the... I'm waiting for the page to load. Because, wow, this is very slow. For being a site that sells coffee, this site is loading very slowly.
Maybe it needs a cup.
They also have a YouTube channel for the Squared Circle Cafe. The last video was uploaded 2 years ago and is entitled, "Give Me 5 Minutes to Tell You a Story, Colby."
Oh, that's right. That was probably when they were going to do that match.
Maybe, but this seems to imply that this channel is going to be about cooking and wrestling, and it doesn't appear any of the 7 videos that are uploaded have anything to do with food.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe they created it and then they forgot they had created it, and they were like, put these up on Steve's personal YouTube, and forgot to switch the account, and so just accidentally uploaded them to the cooking YouTube. Yeah, here it is. You can get an apron.
Yep.
You can get a t-shirt. Now that would be a very niche thing to wear.
It really would be.
All right. Well, and I see, yep, they're all autographed.
Yep. And at the time, one of the kinds I wanted to buy, he was out of stock on. So he, canceled the order on that one and then gave me a free bag of another kind. So that was very cool.
Wow. Well, Squared Circle Cafe, if you've ever wanted to sponsor a podcast, I think you found them.
Yeah.
Right here. But
I can actually talk about enjoying the product.
All right. Well, we are probably not sadly, not a coffee podcast. I'm sure there's many coffee podcasts out there. We are a Joshi podcast, and we're going to talk about a lot of Joshi wrestling. We're going to talk about some things that happened in the last 2 weeks. We're going to touch on even some things that happened in the 2 weeks prior that we would have talked about last episode. We'll just briefly touch on those. But before we do, we got to get the plugs in. Follow us on Twitter at JBombAudio, or you can follow Kelly at Comic Geek Kelly. You can follow me at Taymambo. Subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice. If that app of choice happens to be Apple Podcasts, we would really appreciate a 5-star rating and review. And if you're feeling extra generous, you can donate to the show at redcircle.com/shows/jumping-bomb-audio. So let's get right into it. Not really going to go totally in depth on any one show, but we're going to talk about a number of shows that we have watched, starting with the last few 5-star Grand Prix events in Stardom. Of course, we are recording this over the weekend, so the most recent 5-star Grand Prix matches have happened and have not been uploaded yet, so won't be discussing those per usual, but still lots to discuss. Action from September 2nd, September 3rd, some action from September 9th, and also some other shows. Kelly, any highlights that you want to call out from the last 2 weeks of 5-Star Grand Prix action?
First off, I want to talk about this September 2nd show and how it had one of the single ugliest venues I've ever seen watching wrestling. Did you see any of this show?
I did, although I don't think it struck me as the ugliest venue I've ever seen.
Looked like they were wrestling in a prison. It was like just gray cement everywhere. Just they tried, they hung up their banners, but it looked like they were wrestling in a prison, and it was so distracting to me. Just how ugly everything was.
Yeah, now
and
I'm going back to look. I guess it didn't stick out to me because there's a lot. I feel like it sort of has that gray, like cement wall look that I feel like a number of buildings have in Japan, sort of smaller buildings that people run. So maybe I'm just used to it.
And I think maybe more than anything, it stands out just because the lights are on everywhere, and it's just like, oh, yep, there it is. It feels very much like they're just like in the corner of like a convention center running this show. It's just a super weird space.
The Fukuyama Big Rose event venue. It's funny because when we get to the Tokyo Joshi portion of the show, I have venue talk. So really a lot of focus this week on the venues of wrestling. The one thing I just wanted to talk about the 5-Star Grand Prix, I think we're sort of or at least these 2 weeks are sort of in the past the opening, but not close enough to the end where you sort of get these smaller shows that are, the matches are fine, but I think most of them are sort of nothing to write home about for the most part. But I thought that the Korakuen Hall show on September 9th was really good. I thought they had 4 really good matches, all very strong. The crowd was super hyped and into them, which I think really helped. So that, to me, by far, of all the 5-star stuff, were the obvious standouts of this period. And I think if someone were asking like, hey, what should I watch? I might just say, hey, just watch the Korakuen Hall show. It's only 4 matches. So an easy watch. But that really was what stuck out to me.
Yeah, I'd totally agree with that. Those shows just had a different energy from all the other ones. Because like the 9-2 show, it felt like a house show. Everyone kind of put in like the matches were decent, but everyone kind of did like half effort because they're in this weird building with like 400 people maybe. So it was rightfully so. They put in half effort, I would say. The 9-3 show was fine. Like the 5-star stuff was all right. The top of the card I thought was pretty good too with the title matches.
I thought the tag match was by far the best match on the show. I thought the top 2 were fine, but sort of the outcomes were never in doubt. Like I didn't think Risa Sarah was going to be heading over to, Las Vegas to defend the strong women's title. And of course, I didn't think Mirai was going to lose either. So really no surprise there. Felt more of a low-key show. And then, of course, the high-speed title match was just sort of... The high-speed title has definitely returned back to the thing where it's like, hey, we need 5 minutes to kill here. Oh, let's just do a high-speed title match. Yeah. Unfortunately, because I liked the old version, but... it was fine. But yeah, I really liked the tag title match. Thought it was good. It's sort of what I expected from the 4 competitors with Cosmic Natsupoi and Sayori and Mei Sierra and Suzu Suzuki. Sort of what you would expect. But if someone were to ask, I would say watch. That would be the match to watch for me.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I liked the the Mirai and Konami match a lot too. That was probably my favorite Mirai match in quite a while. But like the one thing that really stuck out to me was, and I'm not sure if it was a botch or not, but Mirai should never do that belly to belly suplex where she just dumped Konami on her forehead ever again. That's how you paralyze someone. That was really like that was I was just sitting there watching and I kind of just leapt out of my seat and was like, "Oh shit." She killed her.
Well, and it's interesting because I also have the cage match ratings here. The highest match on that show was very clearly the tag match at 8.46, but the main event only getting 6.51,
That's
which is
really low because
which
I
is
liked
really
that match quite a
shocking.
bit.
I think there's a lot, or I've seen a lot of. I don't think among the general populace of Stardom fans that there are many people who really enjoy Risa Sera. Um,
That's insane to me.
I like her, but I feel like a lot when sort of she has matches, singles matches, more prominent matches, sort of the feedback is usually like, oh, we don't care about her. So maybe that's it because it is a shocking. I mean, there's one match on the show lower than that, which is the opening match, which was between Micah and Megan Bain defeating Mariah May and Mina. The only match even that low. Although Utami and Momo got, their Grand Prix match 6.89, so not that high either.
And which is weird because I really liked that match. Like I thought that was it. I think in my notes I called it a digest version of an epic. Like it really just felt like they were running through like an epic main event, but they're like, all right, we got to cut half this shit and stuff it into this 10-minute time slot. And I thought it was great. It was a good reminder that Momo is still awesome when she leaves behind the Wado Tide nonsense.
But it really fell to also tie in the September 10th Dream Tag Festival show. It really felt like two shows that sort of, I don't know, not went under the radar, but it feels sort of like during this period more than in previous years. It feels like the usual sort of watchers or the people who I would like see talking about the show after the show ends are sort of like skipping these shows or sort of being like, oh, I'll watch them sort of when I get to them because they're not vital shows more than usual. I don't know if you see that, or maybe it's because like I happen to not be on social media when the majority of the talk is happening.
I definitely think like hype on Stardom is pretty down right now. And not like it's not as though people aren't excited about the promotion. It's just I don't see people talking about it the way they were just a couple months ago. I really think that people are starting to get worn down by all of these shows and all of these pay-per-views.
Yeah, I mean the Dream Tag Festival, obviously I knew it was happening, but it's usually one of those things where, I'm like going on social media and if I look for a minute after a big Stardom show, it's like the whole page is like, oh, here are results and here's talk about it and here's this. For like 2 days, I had almost forgotten the show had happened
Say, I completely
because
forgot it happened until someone sent me a GIF, and I was like, "Huh, I guess I gotta watch that."
it was like really not a lot of people, and the people who were talking about it were sort of like, well, shrug, which is funny because in getting our notes ready for this episode, I watched the show. I thought it was a perfectly fine, enjoyable show. I liked the sort of um, it felt a little like a throwback Stardom show in that they had some of that energy of, especially with like Hannon and Mariah, like switching costumes, outfits, and like coming out as each other or sort of these weird teams. It had sort of that energy of the, the old costume switch battle royal that they used to do. So it
the
felt
old Stardom
sort of,
era where everyone where each video file starts with each of the wrestlers cutting a promo directly into the camera.
correct. Um, so I enjoyed it for that, but it was just sort of one of those shows where I watched and I was like, this was enjoyable, but probably in 2 weeks' time, I'll never think about the show again. Other than the fact that they did set up a couple of, title challenges, and they had Kyrie come out and tell everyone that she's once again leaving. And they set up a 6-person tag for October. But then I was sort of shocked to go into Cage Match and see that the Wrestling Observer had given 4.5 stars to the semi-main event.
That's insane.
Which I was like, I thought the match was good. I sort of enjoyed it. I knew from the moment it started that it was going to a time limit draw, which maybe held it back for me. But I was like, I could see someone being like, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Like 4 stars, cool match. I enjoy
Yeah,
seeing.
I was 3 3/4.
Yeah, like I could totally see that as like, oh, an enjoyable match. Obviously, 4 very talented people. Same thing with the main event. I really liked the Azumi Starlight Kid team there, and sort of that interesting dynamic of Kid not really being a heel for an evening. But I'm like, 4.5 stars is like, this is one of the best matches of the entire year,
That's
which
wild.
I didn't think.
It really goes to show you how much Dave's rating system has been just destroyed by him breaking the the 5-star scale.
Well, and I'm so interested to be like, is it the fact that he just comes in and watches, like, someone says to him, "Oh, you should watch this," and he watches it, and it's the only match he'll watch for a 3-week span, and he's like, "Wow, this is great," and then just is like 4.5 stars. But you could be right that now the standard is, what's the highest he's ever gone? 7.25 or something.
I think so, yeah.
So I don't know. It's just very. I just saw that and I was sort of like, oh, what? And was taken aback because even the cage match is 8.3, which translate to 4 and 4.1, which isn't really a star rating, but in the 4 range. So I'm like, okay, sure, and probably the people who are voting are, fans of the promotion, so I'm sure they would like the match. But I thought it was a solid, fun sort of distraction of a show, but nothing. I think, again, if someone said to me, "Oh, what do I really have to watch from the show?" I'd sort of be like, "Well, you don't have to watch anything. The
No.
top 2 matches are fun if you've got the time, but there's nothing that's like, go out of your way and catch this match."
I liked after the semi-main event when Prominence came out to attack Julia and Suzu, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is awesome. And then Risa Sarah cut the promo. She's like, yeah, we're going to be here for Tag League. And I was like, oh, fuck Tag League.
Yes, they did announce the Tag League teams. I think, as in previous years, on this podcast, we may be slightly light on, we'll certainly talk about them. And I'm sure they'll have some big shows during that period. But, especially this year, looking at the list of teams that are in it, it is certainly not it's not a list of teams that makes you think they're really going to go out there and put in, nothing to do with the wrestlers, but sort of they're going to go out there and make this a big deal. It feels like, oh, we have to do Tag League at this point in time. So here's some teams.
It's very much like, but what if you don't? Just like, what if you just don't do a Tag League? Have you considered that? What if everyone in Japan just stops doing Tag League? How about that?
Bar all Tag Leagues for 1 full year.
Yeah. When's the last time there's been a Tag League that's been like, oh my god, you gotta watch insert literally any match? Like, fuck, Tag League sucks. It always does. And regardless of company, this isn't me shitting on Stardom. This is me shitting on the concept of Tag League. Because half of it is like, oh, they're not going to win. They're not going to win. They're not going to win. All right, there's like the two viable teams that could win this. Gallows and Anderson win again. Great.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least for Stardom, it's probably nice for the wrestlers to have a period of 2 months where you're in a tag. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, every night I'm going to go out and I'm going to be in a tag, so I'm only going to have to do half the work after I just spent, how long has this tournament been? 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Wrestling in singles matches, especially the people at the top who you're like, oh, they are going to come out and they're going to have, like Shuri. It's not like she comes out and is like, oh, great, I'm going to do like a 4-minute comedy match now. It's like, well, I have to go out and have a great match because that's what people are coming to see, see me wrestle.
Yeah.
So I'm sure for the wrestlers, it's a nice break.
I bet secretly everyone in the red block is psyched that Saya got hurt. Not because of anything to do with her, just because they get a night off then.
Well, and speaking of that, we also have the standings, the current standings of the 5-star Grand Prix over in the Red Stars block. As mentioned, Saya Kamatani with 0 points because of her injury. All of her matches are forfeit. Then at the bottom, Starlight Kid and Ami Sourei at 4, Suri at 7, Mayu Iwatani also at 7, Hazuki and Suzu Suzuki at 8, Tom Nakano and Natsupoi at 9, and Natsuko Tora all the way up, the highest point scorer so far of the tournament with 12, unbelievably.
I don't know what we did to deserve this.
And then in Blue Stars, Hanan at the bottom with 2, Mina Shirakawa, Mariah May, and Azumi at 6, Maika at 7, Momo Watanabe, Mirai, Saori Ano, and Utami at 8, and Julia on top of the block with 9. But that a very close block. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the 10 competitors are within 3 points of each other. And we got a lot of Grand Prix action coming up, so certainly that could go topsy-turvy. But it seems to me like Natsuko Tora has a good leg up as we get to the final phase of this, and I believe she's only got one more match. She faces Hazuki on the final show, so she can get up to 14. I'm just trying to see,
shit, you might as well, just because then you're not burning a big match if Tora's in the red block finals, or she's in the finals.
And I thought that, well, I guess it could happen. Because I guess that would mean the winner would have to come out of the Blue Stars block. And for a moment, I thought that Saori was going to come out of the Blue Stars block because that would be someone where it's like they won, but they can also lose in the finals. But also I'm wondering if they think, oh no, we don't want her winning a block and being like, oh, she's better than 9 other people in Stardom when, she's still freelance.
We have the finals everyone expected, Natsuko Tora versus Saori Ano.
But you got a lot of contenders in that Blue Star block, so it will be looking increasingly likely that the winner probably comes out of that block. But we will talk about the upcoming 5-star matches shortly. What else has been happening? The SEAdLINNG show. We were going to talk about the August 25th show last episode. So we will touch briefly on it here because I know both of us want to talk about the excellent main event. Sari winning the Beyond the Sea title, defeating Arisa Nakajima in a match that was excellent. And I know, Kelly, you agree.
Yes. Probably going to end up on my top 10 of the year. I absolutely loved this match. I went 5 stars. One of the stiffest matches you'll ever see. Just insane strikes in this one. It was the wild thing is like how close this match was to being a draw. and it just never dragged for us. Like, it was just go, go, go from beginning to end, and just was nuts. It felt mean. Just all the offense felt like these two really want to hurt each other, and just, yes, that's what I want. Give me that in my wrestling. This was so good.
Wow, I really enjoyed it. I was only at 4.5 stars, but I thought it was excellent. My biggest takeaway was I don't even know if I said this at any point on the podcast, but I think about 3 months ago or something like that, I was starting to think a little that, Stardom and to an extent Tokyo Joshi have really separated themselves in the world of Joshi. And I think with the issues going on in Ice Ribbon and SEAdLINNG, Nanai sort of moving over to Stardom and different aspects of this, I was like, sort of independent Joshi wrestling feels like it's really struggling for any sort of momentum. Like, shows were good, they were having good matches, but it didn't really feel like, okay, this is something I can say to someone who doesn't watch Joshi, like, oh, this really exciting thing is happening, this something cool is going on. And I think Sari coming back has been exactly what a lot of these companies and the scene in general need, because it feels like between this match and the two Sariism shows, there's really sort of, and Sari appearing on a lot of other companies' shows, it feels like there's been a sort of spark, and some of these shows that had sort of felt like they were languishing a little now feel like they've got some energy back. And I think that's really great. Obviously, it was a great match, but that was sort of my biggest takeaway, that it's like, yes, this is some sort of breath of fresh air that they needed sort of to restart some of the momentum that these companies had and maybe had lost over the past however long.
It's really good to have Sari back from her retirement.
Yeah, she also had just a little bit ago, just yesterday, I believe, SEAdLINNG had another show on September 16th. Sari in the main event taking on Riko Kaiju in a singles match. That match I did watch. A really fun match. Not certainly not on the level of the match with Arisa, but very good, very hard hitting. A lot of big strikes in that one. So I would recommend check it out. It's a fun match. I think Riko Kaiju is, for whatever you could say, oh, now Nanai's gone and SEAdLINNG sort of lost momentum. But Riko Kaiju, I think, has become sort of an unqualified success for that company, a very small company sort of training this wrestler. They lost, had two trainees, lost one, but Riko has done very good, very well for herself, and should be commended. Now she's tag champion and had this very fun match with Sari.
Nice. I gotta watch that.
Tokyo Joshi had some smaller matches. This is what I wanted to talk about. Their show on August 26th that they had. Kelly, did you watch any of this show? I don't. We never talked about it.
I did not. I should go back and watch it. Or you tell me, should I go back and watch it?
Well, it took place in what appeared to me to be a sort of disused like nuclear power plant or something. It was a weird like cement structure, and they had a sort of thing in the middle. It was all very weird looking to me. Like a decommissioned like nuclear testing building or something.
Fantastic.
I watched the Rika Tatsumi versus Demonio Dos match, which I really enjoyed. They sort of went all over the building. At one point, Demonio Dos badly and on purpose frightened a small child who immediately burst into tears. And they were in the background of the shot as they wrestle. And like he did it, the child immediately starts crying. And you see the dad who's like holding this child just walk off. And I was like, okay, we're not going to see that child anymore. except 2 minutes later, the camera refound the child and like zoomed in a tight like headshot of this child still sobbing,
Oh
like
God.
crying as like Demonio Dos is like wandering around the building. But I was like, wow, that's like sort of mean to like refine this child and be like, look, they're crying.
Yeah.
Lot of action on the what I believe to be the Tokyo Joshi bus. There was an attempt of Rika to, I believe, run over Demonio Dos with the bus. So that was a fun match. They also had the Chu Summer Party Tides match. Pam Harajuku and Shoko Nakajima taking on Himawari and Mizuki. This was very much sort of a summer themed comedy match. This one didn't really connect much with me. It was sort of felt very sort of low key. They had the sort of baby pool that people went in and got wet, but it didn't really reach the heights of some other sort of more comedy matches that Tokyo Joshi has done. So to me, was sort of like, but I think the Tatsumi and Demonio Dos match was fun. It's a short match, an interesting looking venue. So I would recommend that one. Sendai Girls had one of their two big shows on September 2nd. Kelly, you watched this show. So what did you think about the first of two big Sendai Girls shows?
Overall, it was a pretty decent show. Nothing was like I don't think anything was notebook, but I feel like most things were good. I didn't pay attention to Sakura Hirota versus Iger. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do that. But overall, decent show. The main event saw Chihiro Hashimoto and Yu successfully defend their tag titles against Hirio Matsumoto and Dash Chisako, and I believe this was Dash's return match after she's been gone for a while. I could be wrong on that.
Yes. I mean, she has returned. I don't know if she had another. I would have to look it up if she had another match prior to this one. But yeah, she just made her return.
Yeah, it was a weird match where I really liked parts of it, and then other parts of it just felt like a slog. And it wasn't like in most matches where it's like, oh, the first half was so slow, but the second half picked up. It was kind of like it would be slow, and then it'd get good, then it'd be really slow, and then it'd get good again. It was weirdly paced, very strange pacing. But definitely all the segments between Hashimoto and Dash were great. Dash took some crazy looking bumps in this. So she's fully back. I only went 3 3/4 on that. That was my favorite match of the show. So I wouldn't say there's anything must see on this show, but it's if you got some spare time, it's worth throwing on in the background.
All right. In Ice Ribbon, also some big news from August 26th. Misa Kagura and Sumika Yanagawa won the tag titles in a three-way match. The former champions Hamako Hoshi and Makoto and Akari and Yappy were also in that match. And also two title changes on that show. Ibuki Hoshi defeated Yuri to win the Ice Infinity title. So the Ice Infinity title back with a Ice Ribbon wrestler there. Marvelous just had a show on September 12th. Chikayo Nagashima and Takumi Iroha retained their tag titles over Mio Momono and Tomoko Watanabe. Some other things that were happening. I saw live. I went to the recent GCW show in New York. Crushed Up was the name, which featured Maki Ito taking on Killer Kelly in a match that was, I thought it was fine. I actually have not seen a lot of Killer Kelly. I sort of know of her. I've seen a few matches of her, but am not too close of a follower of Impact Wrestling. So it was a fine match, nothing crazy. I think it was the second or third match on the show, so pretty low on the card. But just always sort of shocks me how over Maki Ito is in GCW. She's one of the fan favorites by far. Maybe the fan favorite, especially because Nick Gage wasn't on this show. But I don't think I'd recommend the match, but always fun to see Maki Ito live and in person. Kelly, what else do you have for this recent period of Joshi?
So on August 24th, there was the 7th show from Baka Gaijin and Friends. The main event of this show was Hagane Shino taking on Maya Yukihi. And this match was absolutely nuts. These two maniacs just beating the shit out of each other in this bar on this tiny ass mat. This match has one of the hardest clotheslines I've ever seen. I would definitely call it a must-watch match. I went 4.5 stars on it. This is really, really good time.
All right, so that's everything that has been going on, but what is coming up in Joshi? Well, Stardom, of course, as we mentioned, a lot of 5-star Grand Prix action as the tournament comes to a close here in the next 2 weeks. On September 18th, a show, the 5-star Grand Prix matches, Natsupoi against Ami Sourei and Mina Shirakawa against Momo Watanabe. On the 20th, Tom Nakano against Shuri, Julia against Azumi, Utami against Mirai, and Micah against Mariah May. On the 23rd, Hazuki will take on Suzu Suzuki, and Micah will take on Mina Shirakawa. On the 24th, Shuri will take on Starlight Kid, and Utami will take on Hanan. Then the flow is interrupted with New Blood 11. Stardom announcing, I believe, moving forward, that none of these New Blood shows will air on YouTube as the first 9 did, which is a little bit disappointing. It looks like they've sort of moved a little bit away from the original purpose of these shows, so it will be interesting to see if these continue, if they go the way of Stardom and Showcase and sort of fade out, or what happens with them. The card for New Blood 11, opening with Hina taking on Kazuna Tanaka from Wave and Hanako in a 3-way match. Sexy Dynamite Princess makes her return to Stardom in a 3-way match, taking on Waka Tsukiyama and Tekla. Lady C will take on Ruaka. We will get Kelly's favorite match type, a passion injection match.
Love a good passion injection.
As Nanai Takahashi will take on Mai Sierra. Tom Nakano will take on Yuna Mizumori in a... I've just lost my mind. In an assessment match. That's the word I was looking for.
A passion assessment match.
Rina will defend her Future of Stardom title against Azusa Inaba. That one was set up at the most recent Korakuen. And the main event will be another 3-way, but this a 3-way tag match for the New Blood tag titles. The champions Karma and Starlight Kid will defend against Hanan and Saida, and Azumi and Miyu Amasaki. But the big Stardom show of the next 2 weeks is on October 1st, the 5-star Grand Prix Finals. It's going to feature a lot of action, everyone in action, or for the most part, everyone in action. Mina Shirakawa will take on Sayori No. Hanan will take on Mariah May. Azumi will take on Momo Watanabe. Mirai will face off against Micah. Julia and Utami will go head-to-head. Hazuki and Natsuko Tora. Shuri and Ami Sourei. Tom Nakano and Natsupoi. Mayu Iwatani and Starlight Kid. And the winners of the blocks will face off in the final match there on that show. So a lot of matches. Hopefully it can meet the high standards of the opening of the 5-star Grand Prix this year, which was an excellent show, one of Stardom's best of the year.
Yeah, definitely. So who do you think? What's the finals? What do you think? Because right now I'm sitting at Tora versus Utami.
That's what I was thinking, but I'm gonna go. Okay, hold on. Let me look at these. Mirai against Micah. I'm going to go Mirai and Natsuko Tora.
Okay.
I don't know, but Natsuko Tora, it's weird because it's 3 points. So to me, it's like no one can beat her, but obviously she can get past.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm like, maybe it's my personal bias, but I'm like, I certainly wouldn't put Natsuko Tora in a,
Oh, certainly not.
final head-to-head.
Do you think they have Mirai win another tournament?
I don't know. I just think they're so high on her, and I can't get the read just because I don't feel the same, that I'm just sort of like, I don't know, maybe like I will admit my first thought was Utami and Natsuko, who already have the built-in quote unquote feud anyway.
Yeah.
Like that was my first thought, but sort of to be different from you. I picked Mirai, but I was leaning Utami just because I think she's a good pick. That would sort of explain, because I don't think, I understand the point of, oh, you would like someone in the finals who can lose, and sort of it not matter, which sort of would be Tora, but it would just feels weird to be like, if it's Tora, it's not Sayori, of course.
Yeah.
And then it's like, they're not going to do Momo.
No.
I guess they could do Julia, but it's the thing of Utami and Tora going back, and being like, oh, it's a continuation of the story, is at least something to me where I'm like, okay, that at least makes sense why you put her through, because there's some background there.
Yeah.
Um,
Finish the story.
Bring in Dwayne The Rock Johnson to face off against Natsuko Tora. But I'm also like trying to calculate, because Natsupoi and Tom, Natsupoi has one match and 2 matches. So if Natsuko loses to Hazuki and like Natsupoi were to win out, she would finish with 13. So it certainly is possible that someone passes her. And yeah, I mean, that's also sort of my hope, because, I'd like the final match to be like, yeah, I'm really excited for this and it'll be really great.
Yeah.
So, but we will see. In 2 weeks, we will be back, and we will all know at that point, and then we can talk about how right or how wrong we were. What else is coming up? Tokyo Joshi, leading up to Wrestle Princess in October, has a show on the 23rd. Saki-sama and Mei San Michel will return to take on the interesting team, the Up Girls team of Miyu Watanabe and Shino Suzuki.
Shino.
So, you always have to appreciate and never take for granted the appearance of Neo Bishiki-gun, because they could go back to France at any time.
Yeah.
Of course. Sendai Girls has their other big show on the 18th. By the time this episode comes out, it will, I think, have happened. That card, Rhea Marumori will take on Yura Suzuki. Manami will take on Yurika Oka. Hiroyo Matsumoto, Lena Cross, and Zones will take on Ryu Mizunami, Miyuki Takase, and Chi-Chi. So 2 Evolution wrestlers in there. Aja Kong will take on Sakura Hirota. Chihiro Hashimoto and Yu will not defend their titles, but will wrestle against Sari and Sayori No. Dash Chizako and Veni will have a hardcore match. It was
Hell yeah.
It was officially announced, I believe, in the last 2 weeks that Veni is going to only now go by Veni. Now, which makes sense, but she will have a hardcore match with Dash Chizako, which should be very good. And Millie McKenzie, the Sendai Girls champion, who I believe has held the belt now for 2 months, will make her first defense of that title against Mika Iwata in the main event.
Well, that'll be a successful defense.
And speaking of Veni, she will challenge also on October 1st. She will challenge Hikaru Shida for the Regina de Wave title in Wave. That match should be very good.
Hell yeah, I'm excited for that.
And to me, a match, I think the result very much up in the air.
Yeah, no, that could go either way for sure.
And I did not watch Collision or Rampage for that matter. Did Hikaru Shida turn heel on Collision?
I don't know. I didn't watch Collision either.
Okay. I saw a tweet or something that made it seem like she turned on Britt Baker. So just a question.
Oh yeah, it was the one the Nyla posted, wasn't it?
Yeah. So just wondering if
Sheeta, if you're listening to this show right now, you gotta stop showing toes for free. You charge for those. Don't give them away for free.
Yeah, you've never seen Kelly's toes online.
Certainly not. You gotta pay money for that.
And you can pay money for that by donating to the show at redcircle.com/shows/jumping-bomb-audio. Kelly,
Yep.
If someone donates to the show, will you send them a picture of your toes?
I would really rather not.
Okay. Well, then that's off the table. But donating is not off the table. We'd really love a donation.
Still give us some. I mean, if the money gets up to a certain level, then yeah, definitely. But like, I would much rather not. I'd feet are weird. I don't like them.
But we're not going to reveal what the money amount is that will get you over.
No,
so
if
you would have
you
to
go
just
high
guess.
enough, you go high enough, you'll know. You'll know.
All right. Sorry, I threw you under the bus offering for you to send feet pic to.
That's
strangers.
okay. What about you? Would you do? How much? You want to throw some feet out there for him?
I mean, I probably would, but like, you can't donate $1.
No, definitely not.
It would. I mean, it would have to, but I think I'm probably on a lower threshold than you because I don't really. I'm like, I guess if you want, I don't care.
Yeah, I never have them out. I'm not a flip flop guy.
You're more sacred about your feet than I am.
Yeah, I'm always got socks on, no matter what. There's a sock on my foot unless I'm sleeping.
Fascinating.
There's always a shoe on if I'm outside.
Yeah, I'm a barefoot guy around the house.
Can't do it.
Not really outside, but around the house. I don't wear flip flops either, but mine is because I live in New York City, where
definitely would
wearing flip flops outside is asking for trouble.
That's just having a hobo spit on your feet for no reason.
But anyway, Kelly, what is happening in Choco Pro? A big match is happening that I think most people are aware of, but I'll throw it over to you to give the final preview.
Yeah, so we've got the Masahiro Takanashi 20th anniversary show coming up on the 19th, which the main event is Takanashi versus Chris Brooks, which should be a very good match. But more importantly, on the card, we have Mei Suruga taking on Minoru Suzuki. I cannot wait. That should be fantastic.
Big match. It's gotten a lot of hype since it was announced a while back, so it's finally here, and I think at the very least it'll be an incredibly interesting watch.
Yes.
At the very
I think
minimum.
they also said that Saki Akai is doing something on that show too.
All right. What else is happening in Joshi? There is a Sato Island Pro Wrestling show, which I had not heard of until I was compiling my notes for this show. The main event of that show, Dash Chizako, Nanai Takahashi, and Aja Kong will take on Chihiro Hashimoto, Veni, and Manami.
That's a cool match.
In an interesting match. Also on October 1st, a big day on October 1st, the Crush Gals will have their 40th anniversary show, recently announcing some matches. The Crush Gals will not be wrestling on the show, but lots of talent there. And of course, we cannot leave this episode, we cannot end this episode without talking about one of the biggest things sweeping the world of Joshi Pro Wrestling, certainly here in America, and that would be SUKEBAN, the brand new wrestling promotion, which will be running a taping, a show coming up this week on September 21st. I will be there in attendance. So next time we join you, we'll have some live reporting. There's been a lot of questions on their Twitter, whether it will be streamed. I have a feeling what's happening is they're probably going to film everything and then put in the anime segments, whatever they're doing. If people don't know what the heck I'm talking about, this is a promotion that just launched. It appears to be heavily anime influenced, or it will be part of a show that's going to feature anime in some way. This is a terrible description. Mainly because we don't know. Will it mainly be just matches? Unsure. They are a promotion. They have a lot of familiar talent going by different or new names.
It's Joshi
Underground.
Yes, it's Joshi Lucha Underground.
Yeah, so they have announced they have these factions. The factions are the Vandals, which will be Otaku-chan, which is Kaori Yoneyama, Midnight Player, which is Aoi, Atomic Banshee, which is Ram Kaichao, and a wrestler named Bingo, who is masked. So I don't know that we know who Bingo is at this point. The Cherry Bomb Girls is Supersonic, another masked wrestler. Crush You is You. And Rico Blondie is Rico Kaiju. So you can see some of these names fairly similar, but some, like in the Dangerous Liaisons, Lady Antoinette will be played by Risa Serra. The Queen of Hearts will be Miyuki Takase. Countess Sayori will be Sayori Ono. And Commander Nakajima will be Arisa Nakajima. And finally, there is the Harajuku Stars. Maya Mamushi will be Maya Yukihi. Babyface is Anchamu. And Ichigo Sayaka will be Sayaka Unagi. It was announced that Unagi has I believe it's a shoulder injury. It was announced last week or early this week. However, she did an interview where she said she's resting up and she will be returning at this show, so she should be there. They've announced 2 matches so far. A tag match, Commander Nakajima, Arisa Nakajima, of course, and Lady Antoinette, Risa Serra, will take on Maya Mamushi, Maya Yukihi, and Babyface, which is Anchamu, in a tag match. And then Countess Sayori Ono, will take on Ichigo Sayaka Unagi. Sayaka, I'm sure there will be more matches announced, but again, not sure. I don't know what's going on with this. I do know the venue they're running in New York, I have been to a number of times. It's a very high-end venue. It looks sort of like an old bank. They do a lot of openings and fundraisers and things there. So a very unwrestling-like venue. But I'm looking forward to it. As Kelly, I know you are too, although you won't be there live. Looking forward to whatever content, I guess you could say, comes out of this.
Yeah, I want this to be good so bad. I want this to work out. I don't want this to be another case of like, oh, creepy promoters getting people, screwing over people for money. I want this to work and I want it to be good. Like, just everything about the promotion looks cool to me. I like doing all the characters and stuff. Like, are you familiar much with like what a SUKEBAN is?
Sort of vaguely. I know it's a type of, but it's sort of like a throwback Japanese character, right? Because it's sort of like the street gang.
Yeah, so there was like the rise of these girl gangs in like in the early mid 70s, and they all kind of wore the SUKEBAN. Like I believe it's referring to some like part of the clothing, like part of the school uniforms. Okay, no, SUKEBAN just means delinquent girl. So yeah, it's a reference to that kind of stuff. There was in the 70s the show SUKEBAN Deka, which was about a girl who was brought in by the police as like this undercover detective, and she would go beat the shit out of people with a yo-yo that had a striped pattern, much like the SUKEBAN logo. So I'm sure that's played quite a bit into the influences on this promotion. SUKEBAN Deka is awesome. It's all on archive.org last I checked, and you should watch it. It's a great time. And yeah, I really hope this goes well. I'm jealous that you get to go to this. I was hoping they would do it the week after, because that's when I'll be in New York.
Yeah, I mean, and really, to me, the thing about it is, it could go terribly wrong. Many wrestling promotions have, especially wrestling promotions that are sort of promising the level of talent that this one is, which is quite a lot. We've seen a number of other sort of Joshi focused promotions pop up here, especially in the last year in the US. Um, a lot of those sort of bring over maybe a handful of Joshi wrestlers and then sort of fill out the card with American independent workers. This, at least on first glance, based on that they've announced this full roster of people, it seems to be entirely Joshi wrestlers and a very high level of talent. I mean, if I said to you, okay, the match is going to be Arisa Nakajima and Risa Sera against Maya Yukihide and Anchamu, that would be a match that I would be like, that's going to be a great match.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's an insane match.
Like Saori No versus Unagi Sayaka. Like, that's a pretty cool match that I would think, oh, that's probably going to be a lot of fun. And a lot of people here where it's not the same, love Miyu Yamashita, love Maki Ito, of course, as I talked about earlier. Always love seeing them. But they come over to the States quite a lot. Hikaru Shida is in AEW. I've seen her a number of times. Even Emi Sakura, I've seen a number of times. All people I really enjoy. But, if they announce a show where they're like, oh, Maki Ito is on the show, it's like, great, I'd love to see the show, but I've seen it. If I happen to miss that show, it's probable that if I had missed this latest GCW show, Maki Ito might be on the show. They already announced they're coming back to New York in December. So it's likely she'll be on that show. Whereas it's like Arisa Nakajima is not coming to the US, every 2 months. Or, Maya Yukihide has been over or has talked about wanting to come over, but is less rare. I've seen some of them live, but all the way in Japan, had to fly to Japan to see them. So to me, that's the most exciting thing. And I think that creates a sort of safety of like, look, maybe this TV show anime aspect will sort of screw with this, but at the bare minimum, if these wrestlers come in and they're like, hey, we're doing this new thing and we want to impress because this could be a good opportunity. I mean, these could be excellent. This could be an excellent show with excellent matches.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll be a live show where it's really good. And maybe on TV, it's less, it's more cut up. So maybe it's not that way, which is sort of why I'm excited to, see the first one live and excited that someone's doing something in New York, which doesn't really have a lot of, doesn't really get a lot of this. A lot of people run in New Jersey. One of the Spark Pro ran their first show in New Jersey, which is close, but a hike for someone like me. Used to have Evolve and things like that. Now gets more frequent GCW shows, but it's not like other places that have a lot of really established high end wrestling promotions anymore. So I really do hope this is a success. I hope they come back to New York as well as hopefully going other places. But we'll see. You never know. I think worst case scenario, it'll be an interesting story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're definitely going to get an interesting viewing experience for sure.
Like worst case scenario, it's a story where you're like, oh, I was at the SUKEBAN show that, went really horribly. Not that, I think that's guaranteed to happen, but maybe it does. Um, I just can't imagine the cost. I mean, they're flying over what? How many people did I just talk about?
It's a lot. And like the
15
production
people?
on the videos is pretty high. So there's money in this promotion for sure.
So God bless whoever decided to do this, because it really worked out for me.
Yeah.
Uh, but that is coming up. So next episode, we'll definitely be talking about that. We'll definitely be talking about the 5-star Grand Prix finals.
But also next episode, we're kind of still up in the air because we might be able to record in person.
Yes, we may be doing an in-person live episode. I may be able to stare into Kelly's eyes as we talk about Suri and the 5-star. I was trying to think of some random wrestler as we talk about Ruaka.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
It will be a passion injection podcast because we will be live and we will be very passionate about whatever we're talking about because we'll be live, and I think it will be fun because we've a little behind the scenes. We've never recorded live ever.
No.
In however long we've been doing this show.
We did record live that one time for John's show in Japan.
Yes, we have recorded live with each other, but not for Jumping Bomb Audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
we recorded
hopefully
when maybe we can get your friend to come fall asleep on this one too.
Maybe. But Kelly, do you have? I turn it over to you. I don't even know if you have anything for your final thoughts of the show.
So, since we last spoke, I got a new phone. I jumped from an iPhone 7 to an iPhone 14. So now I've got all sorts of space for apps and shit. It's great. My phone doesn't get really hot. The battery doesn't die instantly. It's awesome. So I've become addicted to Marvel Snap, and that's what I've been doing. I've just been sitting on my phone playing this stupid card game. I've only dumped the $19 into it. It's dangerous, but I'm having a good time.
Well, there you go. Marvel Snap. I have heard of it, but I have not. It's like a virtual card game, right?
Yeah, so it's like I guess it's kind of like War in a way because each of the cards have different like power values. And I mean they each have different abilities as well, but you have like 3 different playing locations and you have to have the highest power total at 2 of the 3 locations to win after 6 turns. It's fun. It takes you have to get pretty creative sometimes, and the different locations each have different things that happen there too, so you need to be wary of that with your plans. It's fun. There's a lot of strategy in it.
All right. Well, that is the plug for Marvel Snap. And we will be back with you in a snap in 2 weeks, talking even more Joshi. So for Kelly, my name is Taylor saying goodbye for now.
Bye, everybody.
time. So it just has this crazy, Mio's bleeding at one point and Mayumi's like dragging her through the aisles of Korakuen Hall, with her bloody and Takumi's on the ring apron, yelling at the ref because Ozaki's like killing Mio with this chain and the chairs and everything. And it's just like the perfect, for me, spectacle match where it's just like, whoa, this is crazy. It's a lot of fun. And the post match where Ozaki goes up to Chigusa and drops the belt and then stomps on it. And then Chigusa's running in the ring to try and like tackle her. And she's pissed. And I was like, the whole thing just comes together. Some people were, upset that Mio lost the title, which I think makes sense. But I just think as a match, it's so like these big Osaki matches, like the one against Sayori a couple of years ago, was sort of a similar thing. Another great match, but it's like these big matches where they just go out and it's like bloody brawls. I just think are great. So I thought this was an amazing match, and very well worth watching.
Damn. Well, I got to do that. I have to ask though. Did Mio get misted with red mist, or was that all blood?
She got misted. She got misted with red mist, but she was bleeding. She was bleeding all over the place.
Because it looked like her head got dunked in just red paint.
Yeah, I think a lot of that late was mist, but when she started bleeding, it was like a lot of blood immediately.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that was also blood in addition to the mist.
Okay.
So yeah. Kelly, what else has been happening in Joshi in the last 2 weeks?
Ganbare's Joshi offshoot Ganjo had their Battle Garega 23 show on August 11th. Standout matches on that one for me were Unagi Sayaka defeating Yoshihiko Hasegawa. That one kind of made me think like, hey, following Unagi's time in the Fire Festival, I think she's hitting harder than ever now. So I think that's interesting watching her grow as a performer. And then in the main event, Yuri defended the Ice X Infinity title against Rina Amakura, who was doing an Amy Manase gimmick where she was just wearing Yuna Manase's gear and doing some of her moves. But that was a fun match. I went 3.5 on both of those two. And then over in DDT, they had Saki Akai's 10th anniversary show on August 13th. The main event of that was Saki Akai, Asuka, Mayuki defeating Shoko Nakajima, Rina Yamashita, and Takumi Iroha. This was a really fun all-star trios match. Everyone worked really hard here, which is especially notable that Iroha was in the States like a day and a half prior to this. So it's like, damn, no jet lag there. But yeah, I went 4 stars on it. Definitely worth your time.
And then what is coming up in the world of Joshi in the next 2 weeks? Well, we got more 5-star Grand Prix action on the 26th of August. Now, there was a show also today on August 20th. Obviously hasn't made it to Stardom World yet, but we'll be there soon. But on the 26th, 3 matches: Tam Nakano versus Natsuko Tora, Julia versus Mirai, and Utami versus Maika. On the 27th, 4 matches: Natsupoi versus Natsuko Tora, Ami Sourei versus Starlight Kid, Sayori No versus Hanan, and Momo Watanabe versus Mariah May. On September 2nd, 4 matches: Mayu Iwatani against Ami Sourei, Julia versus Momo Watanabe, Mina Shirakawa versus Azumi, and Utami versus Mariah May. And then on September 3rd will be the 5-star special, some 5-star matches, as well as much more. The 5-star matches: Utami against Momo, Tam Nakano against Starlight Kid, Mayu Iwatani versus Shuri. And then 3 title matches: Saki Kashima will defend her high-speed title against the aforementioned Momo Kogo. Sayori No and Natsupoi will defend their recently won tag titles against Suzu Suzuki and Mei Sierra. And Mirai will defend the Wonder of Stardom title against Konami. Kelly, you think we see any title changes on that show?
Konami's definitely not winning. Kogo's not winning. No. Maybe Suzu and Mei, but I doubt it. No title changes. Not a single one.
Then SEAdLINNG at Korakuen Hall on August 25th has their 8th anniversary show, a big show here. Will open with Ryo Mizunami and Miyuki Takase against Yu and Hiroya Matsumoto. La Pedida will face off against Kakeru Sekaguchi in a high-speed match that will be I guess you could call it a mask versus mask match. If La Pedida loses, she will lose her match. If Kakeru Sekaguchi loses, she will gain a mask. She will be forced to put a mask on. So that's an interesting stipulation there. A 6-person match, Mima Shimoda, Makoto, and Asuka will take on Miyo Momono, Itsuki Aoki, and Misa Kagura. And then on the top 2, the tag titles will be defended. New champions Riko Kaiju and Ayame Sasamura will defend against Natsu Sumire and Maya Yukihi. And the big main event for the Beyond the Sea title, Arisa Nakajima will defend against Sari in what should be an excellent match. Almost undoubtedly.
You think Sari's winning?
I think she may, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance of that.
I mean, they've certainly built it up. They had the sort of, they had the show. They've had it on SEAdLINNG shows, but also on the Sari-ism 2. They had the big tag, which that all, the Nakajima Sari interactions were a focus. So I think they built it in a way that, and it also seems like if it's not going to be Sari, who's going to actually win this title? So,
yeah.
Tokyo Joshi has a show on August 26th. Rika Tatsumi will take on Demonio Dos. Demonio Uno defeated by Rika Tatsumi a while back. So Demonio Dos coming for some family revenge, I guess. Are they a family? I don't know.
Could be.
And then what was described in the auto-translate as a summer party death match, Mizuki and Himawari will take on Shoko Nakajima and Palm Harajuku in a match with rules to be announced later.
I'm so excited for whatever the hell that's going to be.
So we'll see what that is. Sendai Girls has a big show on September 2nd, the big show in Niigata, their yearly big show. Ria Marumori will take on Yuna. Yurika Oka will take on the visiting Natsupoi. A classic for the last time, Sakura Hirota will take on Iger. Ryo Mizunami, Aja Kong, and Britain's Lena Cross will take on Sari, Saori Anou, and Chi-Chi. Millie McKenzie will face off against Manami. Mika Iwata and Miyuki Takase will take on Kairi and Veni. And then for the tag titles in the main event, Chihiro Hashimoto and Yu will face off against Hiroya Matsumoto and Dash Chizako, the recently returned. Ice Ribbon has a Korakuen Hall show on August 26th, headlined by a tag title match. Makoto and Hamako Hoshi will take on Yapi and Akari, as well as Sumika Yanagawa and Misa Kagura. And in the main event, Yuri will defend her Ice Infinity title against Ibuki Hoshi. That should be a good match. Kelly, anything else from you? Anything we missed?
So nothing else, but I did just discover via Twitter. Shouts out to Joshi City at Joshi Puro. Marvelous is now doing a YouTube subscription thing where it costs like $7 a month, and they did upload the August 7th show. So I'm going to subscribe so I can watch that.
Oh, yes, they did. And I believe it's 699 yen. So
even better.
If you're in the States, I believe with the current exchange rate,
That's
it's
like
actually
$3.
Yeah, it's actually very cheap.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. I meant to mention that when I was talking about the show, but you can, yes, watch it there with their YouTube subscription.
Yeah, so I will subscribe to that later.
And Kelly, I turn the floor over to you for your weekly chat.
Okay, so I haven't really seen anything of note in the past 2 weeks, mostly because there's been so much wrestling. But later tonight, on the day we record this, I am going to go see the new 20th anniversary 4K restoration of Old Boy. And if you've never seen Old Boy, you should watch it. It's an incredible movie. Make sure to watch the original, and also don't look up anything about it. The twist ending is one of the single best in any movie. Do not ruin it for yourself. It's so good.
I saw The Last Voyage of the Demeter this weekend, and I'll recommend it to you, Kelly, because I think you might enjoy it.
Okay.
It's a vampire slasher movie on a boat.
Hell yeah. Okay. Someone was telling me about a boat Dracula movie. All right.
Yeah. So I saw it, thought it was a lot of fun. Won't change your life, but very enjoyable.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds fun.
And that ends our segment recommending movies to each other at the end of a Joshi
Oh, it actually
podcast.
is like Dracula. That's not even just someone calling all vampires Draculas.
Yes, it's actually Dracula. And this is not a spoiler. Okay. It's not a spoiler because at the beginning it's based on the Dracula novel, and they explicitly say that in the first 2 seconds of the movie. So
okay. Yeah, no, when someone said that to me, I thought they were just calling all vampires Draculas, which, yeah, I mean, you can't, I do that all the time.
So yeah, that is all for this episode of Jumping Bomb Audio, but we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yep, we're coming to your house. We're busting down the door, and we're going to do a podcast in your living room.
We're only
the first ever Jumping Bomb Audio home invasion tour.
We're only doing personal podcasts for no more than 2 people at a time, where we will say the same things. We'll memorize a script of our thoughts and say the same things. But anyway, for Kelly, I am Taylor, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time on Jumping Bomb Audio.
Leave your doors unlocked. We'll be by later.
Hola, my name is Ricardo. I am the host of the Lucha Jovers podcast here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. We are a Spanish-speaking show dedicated to discussing and analyzing pro wrestling from all across the world. From AEW to CMLL, we talk about American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and of course, Lucha Libre. If something big happened in the pro wrestling world, we will talk about it. So if you know Spanish or have a friend that knows Spanish or want to practice your Lucha Libre pronunciations, go listen to the Lucha Jovers podcast right here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Nos vemos por ahí.
Do you like wrestling trivia? Then check out the 5-Star Match Game, the Pro Wrestling Quiz Show. I'm Joe Gagney, and every episode, I grill 3 contestants with 5 rounds of power-packed wrestling trivia. We have over 30 evergreen episodes in the archives covering WWE, AEW, Japan, Mexico, and much, 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 much more. Play along at home and check it out today.